Carl and Damon here from Games, Brains, and a Head-Banging Life with They Made What into a Movie. And this time we're doing something a little bit different in that it is an animation. It is an animated movie rather than what we've been doing is all live action. That's all we've done to date is live action. So, and it is, of course, you've seen the title, Dead Space Downfall, 2008 American science fiction animated horror film directed by Chuck Patton, written by Justin Gray and Jimmy Palamotti, developed by Film Roman under the supervision of Electronic Arts, who, of course, published the 2008 survival horror video game Dead Space, upon which this film is based. It was released direct-to-video in October before going on television later that month. The film is a prequel to Dead Space, taking place after the comic series of the same name and set aboard the mining ship, the USG Ishimura, which, if you know the game Dead Space, should be very familiar to you. And what it does is it details the events that follow the artifact, the marker, being taken from the planet Aegis 7 and taken aboard the ship. And then what occurs in... So basically, it's a prequel of the events that led up to the moment when the crew of the other ship with Isaac Clarke on it, who you play obviously Dead Space, arrived. In fact, this movie ends as they're arriving at the Ishimura.
So genius.
Okay.
Yeah.
It does have a sequel. It does have a sequel, which has a different animation style, and that one serves as a prequel to Dead Space 2. So, of course, we will eventually cover that further down the line. But right now, it is this one. And it is a short film. It is only about 74 minutes long. So, you know, it doesn't overstay its welcome, and it's at a certain point, I dare say it's frantic and fast, trying to do as much as possible as it can do. I guess the first question has to be, you hadn't seen this beforehand. I had. What did you think? Did you like it?
So, I mean, the entire time I was watching it, I was sitting there thinking, like, where's Isaac? Where's Isaac? What, is this supposed to be a dead space? And then when it finally hit me, hang on a second, they just obviously found a marker. And I thought that this is basically explaining when Isaac got on the ship, why the hell everyone's dead.
Yeah.
And I was intrigued. Now, honestly, in my opinion, it was one of the best sort of game to movie films I've seen in a long, long time. You know,
big words. I mean, I do agree with you. It's one of my favorite adaptions, considering the crap, you know. And as of the time recording, I spent a massive portion of the last 2 days editing and adding clips of our Doom They Made What into movie, and that was a chore. This felt like a breath of fresh air to watch it again and write the notes. And even when it comes to adding the clips, it'll be fun to try and find ones that signify the moments that we talk about throughout this walkthrough.
I mean, the details too. I mean, specifically that when on the bridge with the captain and that, I was looking at it, it looks exactly the same as when you're actually there yourself. The details were literally spot on.
To ensure that that was the case, EA gave them access to the builds, the models, the things, the stuff they were using in the game, so they could have it as accurate and close as possible. And we should note as well, the animated style is fantastic. It's very detailed. It's colorful, but it also is really good at highlighting dark, and the sort of imagery, particularly the imagery you want to see, is with things like necromorphs and stuff like that. I think it nails it. I think it looks great.
Yeah, definitely.
And this is a horror film. Beyond the no illusions, this is not for children. It even has nudity, male full frontal nudity.
I felt sorry for the fat guy.
And there's some really, really horrible stuff that happens. A couple of deaths that are harsh, and an ending that is a bit like, I mean, you knew it because it has to be that way for it to match up to the game. But even still, you're like, oh, that's horrible, isn't it? You know?
Yep, definitely.
But we begin with a woman named Alyssa Vincent, who's voiced by Nika Futterman, sending a recorded message describing the horrible events that will make up this movie. So effectively, we're doing something I don't like, which is beginning at the end.
I may be the sole survivor. We encountered an alien life form. They have taken over the bodies of the crew. The colony was lost. My team is dead. It is my belief that the artifact we discovered on the surface is somehow responsible. If you find this recording, the Ishimura and the artifact must be destroyed, must be destroyed, must be destroyed.
The whole, and that whole thing where movie opens is like, oh, that's the ending, and then we go back, and I'm not a fan of that. I'll forgive it here because it's not revealing anything we don't already know. This is Dead Space. We know what happens. So when she's talking about like everyone dying and all that, I wasn't like, what? Spoilers? I was like, yeah, well, obviously.
I mean, for a newcomer, which considering the game came out in like 2008 or whatever it was, you should know what this game is by now if you're gonna watch the movie.
Agreed.
If you are a newcomer, then I suppose I do agree. I don't like the whole starting at the end. Yeah, I don't like that.
No, I agree. She references necromorphs and the marker, and it ends with her saying the Ishimura and the artifact must be destroyed. We then see the planet Aegis 7 in the Cygnus system, and on the planet, a deep space mining colony exists, and we see a group walking around looking for something that has apparently come up on their scanners. They make their way down a crater and into a dark cave. Inside, they find signs that implies many, many decades ago, maybe even longer, old equipment that doesn't even get used anymore was used to mine inside that cave. So people had been there previously, so that's a bit of an intrigue because it does date the marker a bit, because that's what they find. In the back of the cave, they find the marker, and this is humongous marker. This is not even the one that we know so well as well, because there's more than one marker. They call it in and reference it being a second marker. Another voice informs them that the Unitology Church has been notified, and it seems as though expectations were that they were always going to find this marker and they were looking for it. Now, I did stop here and think, okay, if you don't know Dead Space world, this is a lot of stuff happening that makes no fucking sense.
Yeah.
Like, what is Unitology? What is this marker? What is this mining colony? It's very, very like, you kind of feel like this is made for fans and fans only.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you're starting off the Dead Space series or whatever of games and the film and starting with this film, you ain't gonna have it. You'll get bored of it. What the hell's going on? I ain't got a film's going on. Turn it off.
Yep. Don't do that. If you've never played them and you're planning to do a Dead Space deep dive, play Dead Space the game, then watch this movie, then play Dead Space 2, watch its sequel, and so on, that kind of thing. But I will try to explain a little bit. Unitology is effectively a major religion in the world of Dead Space, one that worships a guy. Oh my God. It's not to hand. I have the Dead Space book behind me that is a prequel to do the creation of Unitology. So, and they worship the markers and stuff like that and believe that the markers will craft and create, make them whole, it's often referred to, make them whole, like it's the last stage of human evolution and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But then they're wrong to a degree because it's more monstrous than that, which is what we find out across the games and things like that, leading to Dead Space 3's spectacular fight with a living moon. Never forget. Mad shit.
Yep.
The Ishimura is directed to the colony to get the marker, but en route we hear radio messages suggesting that things are going wrong on the colony. We then get the opening logo, and I was like, yeah, you know what? Good start. Yeah. Back with Alyssa, but before the recorded message intro. Now, what I thought was annoying here was that they never did a whole 5 days earlier after the recorded message.
Yeah.
So, like, I couldn't understand that. Why didn't you go like 5 days earlier or 3 days earlier? Because Alyssa's back, she's in her room and all that. And I'm like, I knew it because I'd already seen it before. But if you never watched it again or knew much about it, you might have been like, what? And then you go, oh, well, it must be before, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Say it, writing at the bottom, 5 days earlier. She's looking through files on the colonists and there's a lot of death, including homicide and suicide. She's interrupted by a call asking her to come to the bridge, and it's here she's referred to as chief. So she's basically chief of security, top of that. She gets dressed, tools up, and then we go back to the planet. A group of men are talking on the surface. One suggests that the marker is cursed. Another pair discuss the madness that is beginning to spread. One is named Colin Barrows. And although he's only mentioned a couple of times, and in this, he's so integral to the story that I felt I had to also get the voice actor, which is Bruce Bocklittner, because what he does is kind of the reason why the Ishimura gets fucked.
Yeah.
And it's his wife who was one of the people that found the marker. He speaks to the Ishimura and tells the ship that they'll be moving out soon. We then cut again to some inordinate time. The time jumps at first are a bit confusing because obviously there's some distance and time between when they found the marker to now, and now the marker's on the Ishimura. So time's passed again.
Yeah.
I don't think the film does a great job at the start of really keeping you interested, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So the marker's aboard, and Dr. Keith Saz. Oh my goodness, guy! This guy's last name, voiced by Keith Sazarbajaki, Sazarabajaka. Guy, my God.
Good name of Scrabble.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's checking out. And if you know Dead Space 1, you should instantly remember Dr. Kine because he is actually in the game. And he's a great character in this. I actually really liked him. And the voice actor does really good.
Agreed.
He's called to the med lab. Then we jump to the bridge where we see Captain Matthias, voiced by Jim Cummings, who does brilliant at a later point in this in the voice acting department.
Yeah.
He meets with Alyssa, who protests the marker being on board. He dismisses what has been occurring in the colony, even when she points out that violent incidents have only spiked when the marker was taken aboard. He tells her that she can analyze the marker once Dr. Kine has done his work, but she salutes him with her middle finger because she's a badass.
Yep.
Let's talk about Alyssa. Did you ever warm to her? Did you like her character? Her thing is that she's a very spunky, tough as nails, hard nut woman. And they're not that unique.
Yeah, I liked her at certain points, and certain points I didn't. You know, I mean, considering that she's head of security, she should have a bit more respect for the captain and all that, I would have thought. You know, but then there's certain points, obviously further down in the film, where I think you start to notice her caring side, I suppose, for her team.
Good.
You know?
Yeah, I was about to say, I agree. I think she grows.
But then there's one point which her and another character really pissed me off. But I'll wait for that bit.
Okay, that's interesting. There's a point where she annoyed me as well, but she was on her own in my one, so it might not be the same as yours. Now, what's interesting here is every so often, and did you notice this, the animation becomes 3D.
Yeah.
Such as now when the Ishimura uses its gravity tethers to lift a piece of the planet up. It is obviously a planet-cracking mining ship, so they pull a massive part of the planet up, and that's the rock that in the game Isaac would have to go out on to put a signal on and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So touches are all there. On the ship, Kine arrives to find a man accused of murder, restrained and talking about having to kill because it needs bodies. He breaks free and punches himself in the head while begging to be killed. This is your first showcase of the bloody effects and how it works. As he punches him in the head and blood starts pouring out. And it's like, okay, cool, this is going to be graphic.
Kill me!
Kine manages to drug him and the man goes to sleep. Kine and the nurse wonder out loud about what it means. And he then, and I love this shot, in the background, you see like a bloodied body being wheeled out into a bay and put alongside lots of other bodies under bloody sheets. And there's loads of them. And you're kind of like, okay, those things aren't going great on the ship either.
Yeah, definitely.
On the bridge, a bit of magnetic interference causes the ship to shake and lose power. It worsens and even the captain looks worried. The system reboots, but it looks like something might be jamming their signals so they can't communicate with the planet anymore. On the planet, things are getting worse, and they're worrying because of the shaking that when they pulled part of the planet up, they might have damaged the actual core of the planet. Colin on the planet arrives back at base and finds that shit has gone off the rails. I presume he's been away a few days.
Yeah, definitely.
Because one of the first things you see is growth. And you know, as the necromorphs take hold and things, it tends to get this sticky growth all over the place.
Mm.
He goes over to check on his wife, Jennifer, voiced by Leah Sargent. The other guy hears screams and necromorph noises and runs for his life. We never see what happens to him.
Can only presume, obviously, I'm presuming he died.
Of course.
Yeah, because...
That's what I presumed.
Mm.
Colin arrives back to his wife and finds the place in disarray. It seems as though she might have been obsessing over the marker and has written symbols and blood on the wall. Jennifer then comes out of the darkness. Her body is wasted. She's covered in blood and she's holding a weapon. Obviously, Colin is fairly shocked. Even more so as she lights the weapon up and proceeds to rip up holes in her arm. She talks about them wanting her body before cutting her own throat. That's the first moment where I went, the fuck? Yeah, I don't know about you, but you forget that it's been a long time. Well, no, because I played Dead Space itself a few months back, but it's been a long time since I've been immersed in the world of Dead Space. And you kind of forget that the whole game series was about this super possessive, damn it, mutilating your body thing, you know?
I think it's more the fact that obviously during when you play Dead Space 1, you don't really see much of that. Like this film,
aftermath.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so obviously all you see is like, I mean, obviously you see bodies everywhere, and obviously on occasion you might see one crazy person's crying over like a dead body in the ground or whatever, you know. But I mean, in the actual film, it actually obviously shows you in proper detail of what actually went on, and it is gruesome.
It is gruesome. It is really gruesome because the wound on her neck is fucking full on. It really is.
They want our bodies. This is mine. My flesh, my bone, and my blood.
No!
Obviously, Colin is devastated. On the Ishimura's bridge, Kine tells Captain Matthias that he's concerned about the marker, but the captain insists that the interference is coming from the planet. Now, let's get these characters out of the way in what they are. So Kine is a doctor, and the captain, they're both unitologists, and that's established in their conversations. But unitology is still a little bit of a dirty word. So it's the kind of thing where the captain can't be seen to be a unitologist, so he has to keep his voice down in case the other crew aren't happy about it. Some people see unitology as like a cult. But the captain, as we go further on, we find out is a hardcore unitologist. Whereas Kine is not so much so, and begins to question the church and unitology overall. And that creates conflict further along.
Yep.
Comms are brought back and they see images of death and destruction on the colony. Nothing seems to be alive as they see the colonists begin to flatline. The readers, you know, the Dead Space readers, the lights, all them. Yeah. Classic stuff, right?
Yeah, well, brilliant.
Alyssa demands to go down with a team, but the captain refuses until he knows what is happening. Arguable that he's right in this department. I'm not just going to send you down there. We don't know what's going on. You go down there and all get killed.
I agree. I agree with that, yeah.
Colin is running through the halls back on the planet with the body of Jennifer. He brings her aboard a craft, and just before he closes the door, we see one of the flying necromorphs fly in. Now, what these creatures are, they're like winged bat-style things. They're super important to the lore. They're basically the necromorph creators. They're very weak, very useless, and very easy to kill in the game. But if they will fly over a dead body, inject it, and that body will reanimate as a necromorph.
Yeah.
So you can kind of see the writing on the wall, all right? He's got a dead body with him.
Exactly.
What happens then? The bridge manages to communicate with someone on Aegis 7, but he is killed before he tells them anything. Kine tells the captain to radio for help, but the captain refuses, as this is a secret mission. This part of it is secret, the whole marker. They're in an area they shouldn't apparently even be in. The pair continue to argue, and the captain refuses Alyssa's request to go down to the planet. And it's here you kind of realize that the captain also does not love the fact that everyone keeps questioning his orders. I mean,
Well, I mean, I see it from two views. Like, he is right. You know, he's the captain. It's his say. Basically, accept it or get another job. Basically. You know?
True. However, he's not making decisions. That's the problem. If he was making steadfast decisions, then there's the orders. Right now, it's just like, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? No, you can't do that.
And the guy's sweating like crazy, proper, like, because he knows there's a lot of shit going on.
Yeah, and he doesn't know what to do. He's out of his depth.
Yep.
They then find out that his shuttlecraft has taken off from the planet and is en route to the Ishimura. Colin is in it, of course, and he plans to land in Ishimura, but they refuse entry to him, which is a good decision by the captain. You ain't coming in, bruv. We don't know anything. But and this is what I said about the voice actor. His reaction to being told no, and it's basically, I'm fucking crashing this craft into it then. I was like, shit, man. But what doesn't help, because he does crash into the docking bay. He gets in just before the door closes and crashes into the docking bay. But what doesn't help is that Jennifer has been reanimated as a necromorph, and she kills him. The captain smartly sends Alyssa to go and quarantine the shuttle. Her and her team arrive to find the shuttle that is dripping in blood, but there are no bodies. However, there are blood trails that lead away. So they begin to follow them. The man from earlier, the one who was been sedated, the one who punched his head, wakes up and finds that he's free of his restraints. He sees a shadow of something go past the door, so goes outside, and he steps in a pool of blood. And he looks up towards the morgue, goes inside and sees the remains of a lot of the hospital staff everywhere and necromorphs being created. Animation here is great. This is also, this was like, okay, this is over. This is done. No one's getting out of this one alive. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
It is basically a necromorph party. And obviously he tries to run, but he turns and is impaled by one of the more unique necromorphs, the fatty versions.
Yeah, the big guys, yeah. Who bloody burst out the little creatures.
Yeah, you'll know them from the game. You had to be super careful about dismembering them, because should you blow open their stomach, little creatures would come out and swarm over your body. And in fact, they turn up in this a little bit later on.
Again, I thought it was brilliant to add in.
Yeah. On the bridge, the captain looks like he is losing it, and Kine points out that he doesn't look well. They continue to argue, but the captain, this is where we realize he's a bit of a hardcore unitologist, as he says it's a test of faith. And it's like, oh, fuck off, man. Don't be giving me that. This is nothing about faith. This is death and destruction, guy. He instructs the doctor to go check on the marker. We then also get a deeper power of unitology, as a load of ship workers arrive demanding to see the marker in the dock. They call it a holy relic. And it's just one of those reminders from the game where you're like, ugh, religion.
Yeah, religion.
And obviously we can draw parallels to religion in real life, to unitology, you know, and the hardcore Featherite supporters and the ones that just have it as a crutch or something to guide them. We have a character coming up that believes in it, but is not like any of the others. And that adds a nice balance, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Kine arrives and tells us to leave, but one steps forward, and it is the man we just referred to, Samuel Irons, voiced by Kevin Michael Richardson, who offers to talk to the group because he's a unitologist, he can talk to them, and they're more likely to listen to him. Kine agrees, and Irons talks everyone down. The dude has got a lovely, soothing voice. I would listen to him.
Yeah, he's very, very calm and collective.
Yep. He tells them, look, let's leave. It's up to the church. Let's pray for our friends on the planet. And everyone, it works perfectly fine. It was like, okay, fine, and so on. I do like the fact that Irons turns around and is like, well, as a reward, can I see the marker?
Yeah,
and it's
cheeky.
Like, oh, you bastard.
Yeah, cheeky, proper cheeky.
Yeah, but he's told to leave, and he just says, that's fine. Kine goes into the marker room, and he sees or gets a flash of a necromorph Jennifer in the vent. Why are you laughing?
Because when I first saw this scene, I thought, do you know what? I went straight on YouTube and searched ever for a meme of actually just pops up and just does a wave.
Yeah.
And it disappears.
It is quite-
It just pops up and then gone. No.
There's like he's like the fuck, and she's like,
Oh,
Alyssa and her team follow more blood and chaos into the morgue area, but there are no bodies anymore when there should have been around 20. They find the remains of the crazy man who he's turned into a necromorph, but he appears to be dead. Now, instantly, I was like, well, he's not dead. His limbs are all there. And we all know that. What's quite intriguing in this film is no one knows the rule of necromorph, which is to put them down, dismember the fucking limbs.
Yep.
And that does create a level of added chaos where you're like, oh, yeah, okay, they don't know that. I know that, but they don't.
no, of course not.
Alyssa reports to the captain, but during the call, the necromorph wakes up and attacks. It manages to kill one of the team before they fill it with bullets. So many, if you notice the detail, they fire so many bullets that they accidentally dismember it.
Yep.
So they kill it. So in their eyes, bullets work. But obviously it doesn't.
Nope.
They're then attacked by another necromorph. They manage to kill it. And Alyssa tells the captain what has happened. Kine arrives and suggests, and this is where his conflict with the captain really starts, as Kine arrives at the bridge and suggests that the church made a mistake, that the marker is not holy. And that, if you're a hardcore unitologist and this guy comes on and says, nah, man, they might be wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
We then get a scene of the crew being slaughtered in the shower room by necromorphs. It's very gory. It's very violent. This is where you get your full frontal male nudity as some poor fat guy tries to run away. Poor guy.
Slips on the water on the ground.
He does.
Oh.
He does. We then see a lone woman hiding in a locker room, witnessing the chaos. She tries to run for it, but is caught and killed as well.
I felt so bad for her because I thought she's going to get away and then smack straight for her stomach.
Yeah, they do that, done it. She's gripping the door and the spear's gone for her stomach, Yeah. Across the ship, on the bridge, the crew's readings are all beginning to flatline. And on the camera, the bridge sees the slaughter occurring in the mess hall. This is where they sound the alarm, and he sends Alyssa and her team towards the mess hall. They arrive there and find, obviously, a ton of death, super violent, gory stuff. And they also find necromorphs making a big old pile of bodies, obviously sort of setting them up to be reanimated. And of course, this leads to a shootout. But the big difference here is, whereas when they were fighting the one necromorph, everyone was shooting at one necromorph, they were able to dismember it. With a lot of bullets spread around many necromorphs, it's not the same. They're not able to do that by accident. So they quickly get overpowered. It quickly falls apart. The necromorphs go down, they get back up, they keep coming. Every so often they'll get lucky and blow like a leg off or something like that. But they're forced back, Alyssa and her team. And then they're flanked, which makes it even worse, as they're flanked and they put up a good fight, but one of the team is killed and several are hurt. It looks to be all over for them because they're running out of ammo when Irons arrives and goes to hell on the necromorphs with a mining tool that cuts through them. How wicked is the sound of that tool? That like a laser chainsaw.
Yeah, I mean, obviously in the game, you got like maybe 6-7 different guns. Flamethrower, obviously, like the Ripper guns. Like obviously, in here you only see 2 guns, but they introduced one of the best guns, which is the cutting gun, which is like really cool gun, and it's just yeah,
yeah, and it just sounds so fucking good. He wipes out the rest of the necromorphs using that. He then tells them, look, cutting them down, dismembering them seems to be the way to stop them getting up. So we have a bit more knowledge now for our team. Alyssa tries to contact the bridge, but comms is down, so they make the plan to head there instead. On the bridge, chaos continues. The captain says they're heading towards Earth. The plan is to leave the colony behind and head towards Earth. Kine is obviously very against this. We can't bring this marker to Earth. It can't happen. And again, I'm just like, I'm totally on your side, Kine.
100%.
Yeah, you know, you can't do it. And what Kine will do later on, I fully support. We've talked about this.
I agree.
We've talked about this in other ones where weighing up the loss of life of, say, 100 people against the loss of life of a planet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that's where I'm always going to side with, look, for the greater good of humanity, I've got to be on Kine's side.
I think I just figured out your one hate for the girl.
Yeah, you know it, yeah. So for those watching, we did have to cut there. And Damon now has a different background because he's had to move locations due to DIY going on around him. We're trying to isolate the sound of someone hammering in the fucking background. So where were we? Yeah, so the captain wants to head to Earth. Kine's arguing about it. The captain is losing it though, and loudly reveals his Unitology alliance to the rest of the crew in the bridge. The rest of the crew, you can tell they're not particularly loving this. Kine tries to calm him down, but the captain is losing his shit, man. Losing his shit. He orders the doctor arrested, but his next in command refuses and tries to restrain the captain. The captain fights them off initially, continues to rant and rave. Great voice acting here. Really, really strong stuff in it.
Yeah, definitely. But again, I agree with the entire crew. The captain's completely lost it. So you have to mutiny, basically.
And it ties into the whole paranoia created by the marker, right?
Yeah. Definitely.
Kine suggests that he's going to give the captain a sedative, which causes the captain to accuse everyone on the bridge of being in league with Kine. Again, they try to restrain him, and they manage to hold him down. Kine goes to give him the sedative, but the captain breaks free and starts to strangle Kine. In the struggle, the captain gets the needle in the eye, and to make things worse, falls face forward on it, killing him.
Mm-hmm.
It is a shocker of an ending for him.
I personally enjoyed the fact that you watched as his health bar went down.
Realizing that, yeah.
Which is really, really cool, you know, because obviously, again, playing the game, as you get hit and get hurt.
Yeah. And of course, Captain being killed on the bridge, the rest of the crew are like, well, in deep shit. This is not going to go down well. So they tried to pin it on the doctor. The second in command is like, arrest the doctor. But before anything can happen, alarms start sounding as the escape pods are all launched. All the escape pods are launched with no one inside. And Kine takes the opportunity to escape. Who did that, do you reckon?
I mean, I wondered if it was a malfunction with the system, or maybe it was a crazy person, when the crazy people just decided, you know, because obviously when they've been a bit messed up, or maybe it was someone thinking like the doctor, that we ain't gonna survive this. We've got to stop this from here.
Yeah,
that's all I can think.
Yeah, but obviously no escape pods, no chance for them to leave the ship. Back with Alyssa Irons and her team. They're being chased by necromorphs, and the markers beginning to have an effect on some of the team, in particular the character of Hansen, voiced by Phil Morris. They arrive at hydroponics, and it seems very quiet inside, far too quiet, in fact. This is a bit where they try and do a bit of the Dead Space scariness, because it's quiet, it's dark, and they're sort of slowly moving their way through it. As they make their way through it, Hansen's paranoia is beginning to sink in, and it causes him to lose his shit, so he has to be taken down by the rest. While this is ongoing, they notice some goop and are attacked by one of the fatty variations of necromorphs. During the fight, they cut it open by accident, and its babies, the little things, come crawling out. More necromorphs arrive, and then we also even get one of the child necromorphs, the baby things with the tentacles. That one attacks Hansen. He manages to fight it off, and they kill the rest of the necromorphs. But, unfortunately, Hansen has gone off the deep end, and in a shocker of a moment, kills one of the other team, Shen, who was voiced by Kelly Hugh. It's well violent. as he literally splits her in half vertically.
Yeah, it's got because she was quite a likable character. I thought.
Yeah, distinctive as well with the blue hair and all that, you know. But yeah, it's pretty horrible because he's like laughing as he does it as well. He then tries to kill Alyssa, but she's saved by Ramirez, the other crew team member, voiced by Hal Sparks. So it's just 3 of them left now. It's Ramirez, Alyssa, and Irons. On the bridge, the survivors discuss what they should do. They've lost control of the ship. There are no escape shuttles, no comms. Basically, we're fucked. And to make matters even worse, power then cuts out. And something starts pounding on the door outside. It seems like necromorphs are trying to break through. However, it's just Alyssa and her team. She finds out the captain is dead as power comes back on. And a brand new alarm stops another row. Because this ship is just falling to pieces.
Yep.
This time, though, it's the guidance computer, meaning the ship is going to crash into the planet. On the camera, they see that it is Kine, and he's basically, you work out what he's done is he's trying to stop the marker being taken away. By doing this, the gravity of the planet and the rock they're carrying will force the ship to crash onto the planet. Yeah, go Kine.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah. Alyssa and her team head off to try and turn the system back on. And as they explore to see how the ship is being transformed by the necromorphs, we're beginning to get that growth and stuff like that around.
Yeah.
Irons then starts to have visions himself, being affected by the marker, but he kind of shakes it off. They hear a woman calling for help and cries of the wounded. Alyssa insists they try to help people first. Is this the part?
We're getting there.
Okay.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Inside a room, we see a group of survivors are trapped as necromorphs try to break in. They see this from afar. The plan becomes for Irons to get the attention of the necromorphs and Alyssa and Ramirez to go through some ducts to try and save the people. So Irons' plan is just go out and start attacking the necromorphs. Well,
yep.
Is this it?
Getting there. Literally
Okay.
in a couple of minutes.
All right, put your finger up to stop me when you get there, yeah?
Yep.
The others get to the room of survivors and start leading them out. This woman that's too scared to move. Now, I don't know if I'm getting this wrong. Is that Nicole?
That's what I thought. I thought, because there was obviously mentioned about a boyfriend. I thought,
Yes.
hang on, is that Isaac? For me, it has to be, because it would make brilliant sense and time with the game.
The only reason why I thought it was as well is because it's a throwaway scene. We never see this woman again afterwards.
No,
We don't know what happens to the rest of them. We know, spoilers for the game, we know Nicole commits suicide.
Mm-hmm.
So and the fact she has blonde hair,
yeah.
I was like, is that, and you said it already, you got a boyfriend. Do you want to see him again? And I was a bit like, and it's literally maybe 15 seconds long. I was like, is that Nicole? You know, I thought it was kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I thought straight away. It's got to be a...
Right, okay.
Come on, we've got to move quickly. You got a boyfriend? You want to see him again, right?
Back in the hall, Irons is giving it a good go, but he's clearly exhaustion is beginning to set in. And the numbers become too much and he's stabbed. So he effectively gives up, prays to the marker. And Alyssa and Ramirez see a necromorph crate arrive to turn him into one of them.
Right. This is the part which really pissed me off.
Okay.
Because before he gets stabbed, okay, now this really strong geezer has gone there and he's fighting off by himself. Both of them had no need to go in and save those people. Because all they did was go, you guys run that way, and you never see him again.
Yes.
So now, when they both decided to let's look down the corridor and watch Irons fight all these guys by himself before he got stabbed, they both could have charged in and helped him. You know, she's supposed to be head of security. She's supposed to be protecting him, not the other way around. That's her job. That's their job. Sorry. And I thought that really pissed me off because I like because he was one of the best characters.
Yeah. I agree with you. I mean, I do agree. I mean, they tried to do the whole numbers. There's too many necromorphs and stuff like that. But my biggest bone is what you've already mentioned, is that they get the people out, and I don't even know where those people went.
Exactly.
Where did they go?
That's it.
Yeah, I completely agree. They do move on and run into more necromorphs, but can't get into the core to fix the computer. Ramirez needs some time to bypass it and uses this time to tell her why he joined up, basically. Alyssa's kind of doesn't want to know, but he carries on. The necromorphs are coming, and Ramirez realizes that he's losing it. So he sends her through, closes the door, insisting that he's given her a head start. He's basically doing a whole, I'll stay behind and die so you can carry on. Didn't love this.
No, but I didn't get it. I didn't get it at all.
That's it, innit? Didn't get it.
I mean, unless a part of them knew that, do you know what, we ain't surviving this. You know, so, and he's talking about how the fact that he's basically a coward, and that he was hoping for a nice, easy security job. So I don't know if he'd given up.
I took that part, right? I took that part as that was the marker. Kind of fucking, you know, that's what he meant when he was losing it, because he was just rambling. He was just rambling. Alyssa was telling him to shut up, and he was just rambling it. The problem is Ramirez wasn't a character that was front and center. So to have this big, like, I'm going to stay behind thing, I was a bit like, yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah. So I mean, that could, if that was Irons or maybe Shen.
Yeah.
But okay, because they were more more talkable characters, or likable characters.
Yep, I agree. Just to listen now, so we're almost at the where we were at the beginning of the film. She gets to the core and she confronts Kyne, and Kyne like tries to tell her what's going on and why, but she ends up beating him up instead. This is where my problem came up. So, what? Come on, man. This really. She's seen everything. She surely at this point must think this can't happen on Earth. We have to stop this here. And Kyne isn't just going rambling whatever. He's trying to explain to her. Yep. And like I know she's trying to save people, and that's kind of her motivation. But the greater good of things and all that. And the joke is after this part, she will adopt that stance about the greater good.
I mean, when she throws on the floor and she's like, "Oh, I'm trying to save people." Well, you didn't save Irons, did you? You left them for dead. Okay, where's the people who you sent, who you rescued and then sent bye to the death? You didn't save them, did you? Yep. So who are you trying to save? Your whole team's dead. The guys at that bridge you can't speak to. They're obviously dead. So who are you trying to save?
Yep. Yeah. She can't access the system though, and before she can find out the code, Kyne runs off. She calls the bridge and tells them that she's got the stabilizers are back on, but they're too close to the planet now because gravity is beginning to pull them down. So I already knew at this point, I was like, okay, we're almost there, because this is kind of where Dead Space kicks in. She arrives at the marker and discovers that the necromorphs who are chasing her won't come close to it. It's almost like there's a barrier around it. So as long as she stays near it, she's safe. However, I mean, obviously she can't just stay there. She's surrounded by the beasties. And she kind of realizes here that the market is to blame.
What's wrong? I'm right here!
It also explains why, when Kyne saw that first sort of creature, why that creature didn't attack him with a
Jump down, yeah, well done. She falls asleep and is woken by voices in her head and sees Ramirez telling her to save the ship. When he fades away and there's a shuttle nearby. She just needs to get to that ship, basically. Obviously, the problem is the necromorphs, so she uses a control computer to record a message. To record the message we saw at the start, effectively a warning that she's going to send off. If only she'd thought about that 10 minutes before when she was beating up Kyne.
I know.
Her plan is to send a message off in a ship. So she sends it via download to the little scuttle ship. She then launches it and makes a run for it. She opens up the bay doors, manages to climb on top, shoots the message out in a capsule as the necromorphs are all sucked out. But, and this is the part we said at the start where it's a bit like, oh, that's pretty horrible. She loses her grip and is sucked out into space too, whereupon she obviously dies. The fact that they played a really sad version of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star while it focused on her dead eye, I was like, that was dark. Horrible.
It was very deep and dark, man. Especially as you can see her life bar going down slowly, and then literally, and it was quite like dark and deep, man. Seriously,
And the thing is, it's not unexpected.
No.
She had to die. I just didn't. Maybe just the cold and dark way they did it. It's like, had she been ripped apart by necromorphs, I'd have been like, well, that happened to everyone else. I liked her, but that was, but being sucked into space and dying in space to the sound of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. And of course, this is where the game kicks in. We then see a new ship in space arriving, one that is approaching the Ishimura. It radios the Ishimura, calling itself the Kellion, but it doesn't get a response. We then see the bridge of the Ishimura completely overrun with necromorphs, and then you hear the Kellion saying, we're getting ready to dock, Ishimura.
Ishimura, prepare to be boarded.
You want to know what comes next? Boot up the game and you will find out what happens next in the shoes of one mechanic, Isaac Clarke. Yeah, Dead Space Downfall. I think it's great. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes me want to play. I mean, I know I probably won't, but it makes me want to play the game and look at certain points. Like maybe you might see some of the team.
That'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
In the, the point where where Shen dies in the pod room, because I know you visit that in the game. Like maybe you'll see a person split in two. Kind of makes me want to have a look.
Unlikely. Do you know why?
The
game was made before this.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
So it's the other way around, where if you played the game and then went back and watched the film, you might notice things in the game that were added in the film. Rather than the other way around. That's the thing, you know. Its animation is great. Its story is tight, concise. The things we've criticized are very small and nitpicky. I think the things about characters and all that. Yeah. The truth be told, of course, while we might have been in Kind's side, we know we couldn't have crashed the ship into the planet because he can't, because that's Dead Space, the game. So we know all of this. And it's weird watching it, knowing exactly the outcome for everyone. And it's still being quite exciting to watch. And the biggest sort of takeaway from me for it is, and I suppose on a negative slant first, is that I don't think, while it is a horror film, it doesn't have the Dead Space atmosphere and scares. It is very much action orientated. Agreed?
Yeah. I mean, take away all the blood and all that, and then it's not really it's just I don't know, like a Starship Troopers animation wise. So obviously the blood obviously makes it more scarier. But like I said, when I last played Dead Space, which was like about a month ago, I mean, I played in the dark by myself, and I was getting just bloody hair standing up. Because it is that sort of game. Yeah,
I think this film is more in line with Dead Space 2 and Dead Space 3, the more action orientated stuff than the very first game. It's not. It's a negative on that sense, but there's so much more to enjoy. And like we said already, it's 70 odd minutes long, so you're not spending a long time in it. It's not 2 hours. It's not overstaying its welcome. It ties up all these little loose ends about the marker and what this meant and where this was going and why and how. It also explains where the marker is, where it is in the game and stuff like that. And obviously the touch at the end of Dead Space, you obviously go back to the planet Aegis 7. And even that feels quite accurate too. Because when you go to Aegis 7, it's more overgrown, more necromorphy and it also ties into the final boss. So that shaking we were feeling wasn't because of the core. When they ripped up the part of the rock, they unleashed that big bad boss. Yeah.
I mean, the film it did everything right. Where like, for example, Doom, it took an hour to get into the film, an hour into action, and where this film it told a story quickly, and the action was action packed pretty much for the entire film. So it did everything right.
Yeah, I agree. We both really, really loved it. But let us know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. Go to Patreon to help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?